I have to go through all that he asks? In other words, you want him to change his whole leadership styles and you're not willing to change your method of presentation. I guess so, he replied. Well, then I said, just smile about it and learn to live with it. I can live with it, he said. It compromises my integrity. Okay, then get to work on an effective presentation that's in your circle of influence. In the end, he wouldn't do it. The investment seems too great. Another acquaintance, a university professor, was willing to pay the price. He approached me one day and said, Stephen, I can't get to first base in getting the funding I need for my research because my research is really not in the mainstream of the department interest. After discussing his situation at some length, I suggested that he develop an effective presentation after ethos, pathos, and legos. I know you are sincere and the research you want to do would bring great benefit. Describe the alternative they are in favor of better than they can themselves. Show that you understand them in depth, show that you understand them in depth, then carefully explain the logic behind your request. Well, I'll try, he said. Do you want to practice with me? I asked. He was willing, and so we dress rehearsed his approach. When he went in to make his presentation, he started by saying, Now let me see if I first understand what your objectives are and what your concerns are about the presentation and my recommendation. He took the time to do it slowly, gradually, in the middle of his presentation, demonstrating his depth of understanding and respect of their point of view. A senior professor turned to another professor, nodded, turned back to him, and said, You got your money. When you can present your own ideas clearly, specifically, visually, and most important, contextually, in the context of a deep understanding of their paradigms and concern, you significantly increase the credibility of your ideas. You're not wrapped up in your own thing, delivering grandiose rhetoric from a soapbox. You really understand what you're presenting may even be different from what you had originally thought because in your effort to understand you learned. Habit 5 lift you to greater accuracy, greater integrity in your presentation, and people know that they know you're presenting the ideas which you genuinely believe, taking all known fact and perceptions into consideration that will benefit everyone. One to one. Habit 5 is powerful because it is right in the middle of your circle of influence. Many factors in interdependent situations are in your circle of concern, problems, disagreements, circumstance, other people behavior, and if you focus your energies out there, you deflect them with little positive result. You can always seek first to understand that something that within your control, and as you do that, as you focus on your circle of influence, you really deeply understand other people, you have accurate information to work with, you get to the heart of matter quickly, you build emotional bank account, and you give people the psychological air they need so you can work together effectively. It's the inside out approach, and as you do it, watch what happened to your circle of influence. Because you really listen, you become influenceable, and being influenceable is the key to influencing others. Your circle begins to expand, you increase your ability to influence many of the things in your circle of concern. And watch what happened to you. The more deeply you understand other people, the more you will appreciate them, and the more reverent you will feel about them. To touch the soul of another human being is to walk on holy ground. Habit 5 is something you can practice right now. The next time you communicate with anyone, you can put aside your own autobiography and genuine seek to understand. Even when people don't want to open up about their problems, you can be empathic. You can sense their hurt. You can sense the hurt, and you can respond. You seems down today. They may say nothing. That's all right. You should understanding the and respect. Don't push. Be patient. Be respectful. People don't have to open up verbally before you can empathize. You can empathize all the time with their behavior. You can discerning, sensitive, and aware, and you can live outside your autobiography when that is needed. And if you are highly proactive, you can create opportunities to do preventive work. You don't have to wait until your son or daughter have a problem with the schools, or you have your next business negotiation to seek first to understand. Spend time with your children now, one on one. Listen to them, understand them. Look at your home, at the school life, at the challenges and the problems they are facing through their eyes. Build the emotional bank account, give them ear. Go out with your spouse on a regular basis, have dinner or do something together you both enjoy. Listen to each other, seek to understand, see life through each other's eyes. My daily time with Sandra is something I wouldn't create for anything. As well as seeking to understand each other, we often take time to actually practice empathic listening skills to help us in communicating with our children. We often fear our different perception of the situation, and we role play more effective approach to difficult interpersonal family problems. I may act as if I am a son or daughter requesting a special privilege even though I haven't fulfilled a basic family responsibility, and Sandra plays herself. We interact back and forth and try to visualize the situation in a very real way so that we can train ourselves to be consistent in modeling and teaching correct principles to our children. Some of our most helpful role play come from redoing a past difficult or stressful scene in which one of us blew it. At the time you invest to deeply understand the people you love bring tremendous dividend in open communication. Many of the problems that plague families and marriage simply don't have time to foster and develop. The communication becomes so open that potential problems can be nipped in the bud, and there are great reserve of trust in the emotional bank account to handle the problem that do arise. In business, you can set up one-on-one time with your employees, listen to them, understand them, set up human resources accounting or stakeholder information system in your business to get honest accurate feedback at every level from customers, suppliers, employees. Make the human element as important as the financial or the technical element. You save tremendous amount of time, energy, and money when you are tapped into the human resources of a business at every level. When you listen, you learn, and when you also give the people who work for you with your psychological ear, you inspire loyalty that goes well beyond the 8 to 5 physical demand of the job. Seek first to understand before the problem come up, before you try to evaluate and prescribe, before you try to present your own ideas. Seek to understand its powerful habit of effective interdependence. When we really deeply understand each other, we open the door to creative solution. And third alternative, our differences are no longer stumbles block to communicate and progress. Instead, they become the stepping stones to synergy. Application suggestions. Number one. Point number one, select a relationship in which you sense the emotional bank account is in the red. Try to understand and write down the situation from the other person point of view. In your next interaction, listen for understanding, comparing what you are hearing with what you wrote down. How valid were your assumptions? Did you really understand that individual perspective? Point number two, share the concept of empathy with someone close to you. Tell him of or her you want to work on really listening to others and ask for feedback in a week. How did you do? How did it make that person feel? Point number three, the next time you have an opportunity to watch people communicate, cover your ears for a few minutes and just watch what emotions are being communicated that may not come across in words alone. Point number four. Next time you catch yourself inappropriately using one of the autobiographical responses, probing, evaluating, advising, or interrupting, try to turn the situation into a deposit by acknowledge and apology. I'm sorry, I just realized I'm not really trying to understand. Could we start again? Point five, base your next presentation on empathy. Describe the other point of view as well as or better than its proponent. Then seek to have your point understand from their frame of reference. Habit six, synergize. Principle of creative cooperation. I take as my guide the hope of assent. In crucial things, unity. In important things, diversity. In all things, generosity. Inaugural address of President George Bush. When Sir Winston Churchill was called to head up the war effort for Great Britain, he remarked that all his life had prepared him for his hour. In a similar sense, the exercise of all of the other habits prepared us for the habit of synergy. When properly understand, synergy is the highest activity in all life, the true test and manifestation of all the other habits put together. The highest form of synergy focus the four unique human endowment, the motive of win-win and skills of empathic communication on the toughest challenges we face in life. What result is almost miraculous. We create new alternatives, something that wasn't there before. Synergy is the essence of principle centered leadership, in the essence of principle centered parenting. It catalyzes, unifies, and unleashes the greatest power within people. All the habits we have covered prepare us to create the miracle of synergy. What is synergy? Simply defined, it means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It means that the relationship which the part have to each other is a part in and of itself. It is not only a part but the most catalytic, the most empowering, the most unifying, the most exciting part. The creative process is also the most terrifying part because you don't know exactly what's going to happen or where it is going to lead. You don't know what new danger challenges you will find. It takes an enormous amount of internal security to begin with the spirit of adventures, the spirit of discovery, the spirit of creativity. Without doubt, you have to leave the comfort zone of base camp and confront an entirely new and unknown wilderness. You become a trailblazer, a pathfinder, you and confront an entirely new and unknown wilderness. You became a trailblazer, a pathfinder. You open new possibilities, new territories, new continents, so that other can follow. Synergy is everywhere in nature. If you plant two pla- plants close together, the roots commonly and improve the quality of the soil so that both plants will grow better than if they were separated. If you put two pieces of wood together, they will hold much more than the total of the weight held by put each separately. The whole is greater than the sum of its part. 1 plus 1 equals 3 or more. The challenge is to apply the principles of creative cooperation which we learn from nature in our social interaction. Family life provides many opportunities to observe synergy and to practice it. The, the very way that man and a woman brings a child into the world is synergistic. The essence of synergy is to value difference, to respect them, to build on strength, to compensate for weaknesses. We obviously value the physical difference between man and woman, husband and wife, but what about the social, mental, and emotional difference? Could these differences not also be source of creating new existing forms of life, creating an environment that is truly fulfilling for each person, that nurtures the self esteem and self worth to each, that creates opportunities for each to mature into independence and then gradually into interdependence? Could synergy not create a new script for the next generation, one that is more geared to service and contribution, is less protective, less adversarial, less selfish, one that is more open, more giving, and is less defensive, protective, and political, one that is more loving, more caring, and is less possessive and judgmental. Synergistic communication. When you communicate synergistically, you are simply opening your mind and heart and expressions to new possibilities, new alternatives, new options. It may seem as if you are casting aside habit to begin with the end in mind, but in fact you are doing the opposite. You are feeling it. You are not sure when you engage in synergistic communication how things will work out or what the end will look like, but you do have an inward sense of excitement and security and adventure, believing that it will be significantly better than it was before, and that is the end what you have in mind. You begin with the belief that parties involved will gain more insight and that the excitement of that mutual learning and insight will create a momentum towards more and more insight, learning, and growth. Many people have not really experienced even a moderate degrees of synergy in their family life or in other interaction. They have been trained and scripted into defensive and protective communication or into believing that life or other people can be trusted. As a result, they are never really open to habit six and to these principles. These represent one of the great tragedies and waste in life because so much potential remain untapped, completely undeveloped and unused. Ineffective people live day after day with unused potential. They experience energy only in small peripheral ways in their life. They may have memories of some unusual creative experience, perhaps in athletics, where they were involved in a real team spirit for a period of time, or perhaps they were in an emergency situation where people cooperated to an unusual high degree and submerged ego and pride in an effort to save someone's life or to produce a solution to a crisis. Too many such events may seem unusual, almost out of the character with life, even miraculous, but this is not so. These things can be produced regularly, consistently, almost daily in people's life, but in it requires enormous personal security and openness and a spirit of adventure. Almost all creative endeavor are somewhat unpredictable. They often seem ambiguous, hit or miss, trial and error, and unless people have a high tolerance for ambiguity and get their security from integrity to principles and inner values, they find it unnerving and unpleasant to be involved in highly creative enterprises. Their need for structure, certainty, and predictability is too high. Synergy in the classroom. As a teacher, I have come to believe that many truly great classes teeter on the very edge of chaos. Synergy tests whether teachers and students are really open to principles of the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. There are times when neither the teacher nor the student knows for sure what's going to happen. In the beginning, there safe environment that enables people to be really open and to learn and to listen to each other ideas. Then comes brainstorming, where the spirit of evaluating is subordinated to the spirit of creativity, imagining, and intellectual networking. Then absolutely unusual phenomena begins to take place. The entire class is transformed with the excitement of a new trust, new ideas, a new direction that hard to define, yet it almost palpable to the pupil involved.